does the intros and blah, blah, blah. You ready?
Ready, Daddy.
Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Gregolicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. About get jitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix, so get ready, cause we about to get it poppin', and we ain't stopping.
I'm educated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again. Yeah, we.
That's the first time I've danced when that song's been on. I'm in a good mood today.
Not the first time.
Hello and welcome to the Mangina Dialogues. I am your host, Nick Scopes.
And I'm the Gregolicious.
And our guest today is the very funny Kerryn Feehan.
Nailed it. Hi.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, guys. Well,
Thanks for coming on.
Sure, no
Cause
problem.
It gets a gold star for today.
I just want to get your name right. I'm just going to sit here in silence now the rest of the time. That's it.
No, it's tough out here for any female name starting with a K. I mean, Karens have it the worst, but that's why I have to spell mine so slowly in Starbucks now before everybody freaks out on me. K-E. I'm not one of them.
So what's the origins of that name?
It's Irish. It's just my mom, they went to the Ring of Kerry for their honeymoon, and she's like, let me just put an N on that and then really annoy the shit out of people for the rest of her life.
And their daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you Irish?
I'm 100% Irish.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Did not see that coming.
I didn't
Did
either.
you think I was?
Where'd you grow up?
Italian?
Mm.
Yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Massachusetts. I grew up in a town called Marshfield. We used to call it Marsh Vegas. I used to get fingered in the dunes.
All right, so I know that. I know Marshfield.
I remember you used to finger me in the dunes.
Yes, that was me. In the dunes.
That's how Greg and I met too. Same thing.
Except a little different. It was grinder related.
Yeah.
You know Marshfield.
Well, I went to college in Boston, so I know every town in Massachusetts that sounds like that.
Wow. Yeah. There's like Medfield, Mansfield. Yeah.
I know those. I went to Springfield College in Mass, but so I knew kids from around that area. They all sound the same at some point.
Yeah, Marshfield is the best because you can really do the Massachusetts accent the best with the sh in there.
Yeah. I went to school with kids from Duxbury. We used to call it Deluxebury. Fucking rich fairies. We hated them.
I know those rich fairies too.
Fucking loses.
My dad grew up in Dorchester, so he just had no time for any type of pansy attitude.
Your dad grew up in Dorchester?
Yeah.
Wow, Dorchester?
Dorchester.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Did he go to Wahlberg?
Yeah, well, maybe. My dad's thing, he got kicked out of 3 schools, so he would always befriend the biggest black kid he could find at the new school, so nobody would fuck with him. He'd be like, who's gonna, oh, I know, because he would just come in like some punk who'd one school put him in a cage on the roof of their school for weeks at a time. Yeah, my dad, he was sure.
You sure it was a school, wasn't a prison?
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not.
Actually, funny. My
put him in the hole. He fucked up his math homework. He's in the hole for a week.
I threw a New Year's Eve party once, and 2 of my friends wound up getting arrested in the city at it. And they were both, well, one was from Massachusetts, and it was over New Year's weekend, so he had to spend the entire New Year's weekend in the Tombs in New York City.
God.
So when he left my apartment in handcuffs.
Yeah.
He looked like a sweet Irish boy, right? And then when I saw him 3 days later, he looked like a different person. And when they let him out, I was like, so how did you guys not get just manhandled? And he was like, I went and found the biggest black guy I could, and I gave him my Blistex.
Yeah. You got it. Whatever you got to do to keep you safe.
So that's got to be a Massachusetts trick. like you get in trouble. You got.
You're ever in a pickle, find the biggest black guy you can.
It works. It works.
It's appropriate conversation for these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Is that where you got your itch to do comedy growing up in Massachusetts?
You know, I was a dancer. I was in the Boston Ballet for a while. And then when you hit puberty, they sit you down and tell you like whether or not you're going to be a professional dancer. And they were like, you're too short. You're not like your foot doesn't point perfectly. You don't have a good extension. They're like, you could be the first chorus member. Like you'll always be the first because you're short. So you'll be the first one in line. But you're never going to be like Giselle or Capelia or anything. And so I was like, fuck this. So then I started doing acting. And then I did acting in high school. And then I got into college for like on an acting scholarship. And then I got cast in a very creepy play by a creepy guy who wanted us to do 5 minutes of talent, but it had to pertain to our feet. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I mean, I'm getting $8 a performance for like this guy's like OnlyFans account that he maybe is creating. I don't know.
Nice.
And so
was that the Pornhub like,
I don't know. It was
performance?
That was just me in college being an idiot. And but then I ripped into like my first 5 minutes of written stand-up and I was like, oh, this is great. And I learned a pretty good lesson early on. Like the first night I just killed. Everything was like hitting. And the next night I was like, I'm the fucking queen of the world. And it was good, but definitely not as good as the first night. And so like you feel that in your soul. It like hurts. But I didn't quit.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school. I went to Marymount Manhattan College.
Oh, okay. So your first stand-ups were in and around New York City.
Yeah. I started in New York.
Oh, that's cool. So what did you do from there? Like you started acting.
Then I sort of kept acting for a little while. I did like some off-Broadway shit. I was mostly just a blackout drunk for like a decade who like dabbled in stand-up here and there. And then it wasn't until like I got really serious. I started running my own show. You start working your way up. I started getting some TV credits. I started doing a lot of roast battles.
Right.
Jim Norton liked me, so he started having me on his podcast a lot. I started getting passed at clubs that now, like, I work a lot more than I used to when I was a total mess.
Right.
Yeah.
Shocker, Jim Norton liked you.
I know, this is like, is it a boy? Is it a girl? Is it 14? Is it 40? I don't care. Get in my mouth.
What was the?
We love Jim Norton.
What was the turning point for you? Like when you decided to take stand up a little bit more serious? Was it just getting sober?
Getting sober was a huge part of it because I was standing in my own way a lot because I was good, like I had talent. I was a good writer, but I would, be in these sort of like important places, like even if it was like an alt room, like there's eyes everywhere, and I would just get full on blackout, and I was starting to be known for that and not my comedy, that's never going to be sustainable,
Yeah,
right.
Sure. So what were you doing to like provide an income when you were working your way through the stand-up stuff?
I was waiting tables. I was a bartender. I waited tables. I worked for a man who sharpened scissors out of his van for about 6 months until he fired me on my birthday. Fucking asshole.
Wait a second.
Hold on. There's so many parts.
Yeah. So we're gonna get to the parts. Nick, go ahead. I'll let you.
All right. Sharpened scissors in a van.
His name was Glenn, and he would go around to different salons in the tri-state area and like sharpen their cutting, their scissors, their shears. But he would send me in as like the face of the business because all these women hated him because I guess he fucked up their scissors a lot, but I didn't know.
By the way, time out. Fucked up their scissors. Nick is code for something definitely not fucking up their scissors.
Yeah, he fucked up their scissors a lot. He was a creep, probably. Right?
Yeah, he was like, they were a bunch of lesbians, and he was just ruining their time. But he was crazy, and he would like see cats on the highway, and he would just have a bunch of cans of food in his van, and he would like open them and like throw them out the window. I got paid $100 a day. It was a brutal, like 8, 9, 10 hours a day driving. I would never know when I was going to finish. I had to go up to Washington Heights to meet him, and I was living in Greenpoint. It was a very low period. But when he fired me, he had a great line. He was like, because I was wasted. This is when I was still drinking. I just didn't show up. It was my birthday. I was like, come on. He goes, you're predictably unpredictable. And I was like, I like that. I like that.
Like, thanks.
Yeah.
That should definitely be the name of a comedy album.
Yeah, predictably unpredictable.
Yeah, that's a dope name.
Yeah.
You win that day for sure.
Yeah.
So you got out of the van, which and then
I love how like people try, like, you know, the consensus is stay away from guys in vans, right? Like,
not me.
You were like, you know what? You hiring? Let's do this.
What's the next van job you're looking for?
I know, right?
Like,
hopefully never again.
Like where do you go from scissors?
I know.
Like staplers? Like
only up.
Only up.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Knives. I don't need you, scissor man, anymore. I'm with knife guy now.
Full on swords. It's a totally different kind of van.
Yeah, but then I waited tables, and like the thing with waiting tables, like I worked at like good places, so I would make money. I worked at Sushi Samba, and you know, you're walking with like $300-400 cash a night. They fuck you on taxes eventually, but like in the moment you're like, this is fucking great. But then you're so stressed out after working a shift that you spend half of it on booze at the bar next door, you know, because you're a regular, you know them, and you should be getting free stuff, but you're just tipping and buying everyone who sees you like drinks. That was always my thing. So I had to get out of that. And eventually I got a writing job. I started writing at Paramount Network. And that's great. That was great. And I was there until COVID happened and shit hit the fan.
On a show on Paramount? Or
I would write for like all their social stuff, their digital stuff. I would write copy for their different like key art and stuff. Right. I would write like different like scripts for John Taffer, for Bar Rescue. So I would cover a bunch of different shows.
Oh my God, I love that show.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh my God.
I would like pitch like the craziest stuff. I'd be like, let's get him in a room with a bunch of 5-year-olds, okay? Hear me out.
You're a failure.
A 5-year-old, a priest, and a rabbi walk into a bar.
But you get it though. Like that's what I was gonna do. I was like, they have a lemonade stand, and he just comes by and is like, oh, this is disgusting.
Yeah. You're pouring money down the drain.
Exactly. How are you guys gonna meet your bottom line selling this for 10 cents? You fucking idiot.
It's irresponsible, and it ends now. Like
your brother's a washout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're at Paramount, but all right. So how long have you been sober?
This time around, over 2 years. May 10th that was 2 years. May 10th.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
How many
I'm really
times around?
Quitting drinking. I've done it like 6 times.
How many times around has it like before it took? Let's say.
I mean, this is my 3rd time. My issue is I can quit, but then once I hit like that 2 or 2.5 year mark,
right,
you're so different. Like your chemical makeup is so different from like not having a drink for that long that like you get those creepy alcoholic thoughts that are like, oh, you could probably have one now. Like you're fine. You can have a glass of wine. But I'm like a true blue textbook alky. Like it'll start with like 1 glass of wine, and then like 2 days later, I'm doing shots of Patron before work. Like
before getting in the van.
Yeah, any van.
So what are you supplementing? Any van. Nick, load up the van.
I'm already in it, dude. This is a van.
I know. You can tell by the curtains.
I'm in the corner of the room.
What are you supplementing it with?
I work out a lot and I smoke pot. I believe in marijuana management. I have no problem with people who have addictions and still smoke weed.
Right. What about food?
Yeah, I've always had a pretty healthy relationship with food, knock on wood. I'll binge eat when I have my period. That's it.
Yeah, me too.
Same.
I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
So I think I was telling Nick that how I came to be familiar with you was mainly because of a lot of your funny videos that
Thank you.
Whenever I pop onto my Instagram, on your little explore page, there's a million things, and to me it's either jokes or bikinis for
Yeah.
some reason, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, started watching.
Cooking.
Or what?
We're cooking.
Yeah, it's not so much cooking; it's mostly bikini pics and
Yeah.
so, but whatever.
Cooking while wearing a bikini, which I don't know if you've ever tried.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
a lot of big black guys on his Discover page.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Mostly in Vans.
Yeah, there you go.
And I saw yours, and I never watch anything all the way through. 90% of the time, I don't watch anything all the way through. And then I was watching it, and I'm like, this is riveting to me, and I'm not sure why. Right? Because it had everything that I like: food, obviously, girls, and comedy.
Yeah.
And it hit all those bases. I'm like, this is hysterical. And then I have probably spent multiple times for like an hour just rewatching shit on your Instagram because it makes me hungry. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go have a nice smoothie right now.
There you go.
And I'll find a smoothie video. I'll laugh. I'm like, it's smoothie time. So like, how did you come up with that? Is it just something you were fucking around with one day and you just like, I'm gonna tape this. This is funny.
I mean, we're all learning together. I never cooked in my life, like ever. I can't cook. I'm literally learning more. Every video I do, I learn new things. I buy more kitchen tools. It was like, what's the easiest thing I can do where, because I don't have my own podcast. I guest on a lot of podcasts and I like that. It's fun. Yeah. But I didn't have anything that was like just mine. And so I was like, this is desperate enough. Let's just do this.
That's us, baby. Desperate.
Yeah, and I'm like 6 videos in, I'm like, oh, I've only made toasts.
But it's got 23,000 views, so there's something to the toast.
That's like a true pothead. You're like, oh, I just want toast. Every time I get high, I just keep making.
Imagine what's going to happen when you put avocado on that toast.
Look out. The meatheads are going to lose their shit.
Fucking viral city. I'm telling you, the one I watched it again today because it kills me, and I also don't know why, is the one where you made the toast with the peanut butter and the thin slices of apples. Oh. And I'm like,
that was not even good.
It kills me every time.
Wasn't good?
The peanut butter sucks. I still have that peanut butter.
I feel the exact same way about this Trader Joe's bullshit peanut butter.
Well, you use the natural peanut butter with the oil, and you got to mix it. Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
But it was like the cutting the apple slices the right way. It was just, I don't know, genius to me. I'm sorry.
She's laughing like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I just
that dude's weird. He should buy a van.
Yeah. Apples and peanut butter sold out of a van. Now we got an idea.
I used to have this boyfriend who cooked for me every night and like slowly began to resent me because I would work this writing job 10 to 6 every day. And then I'd have a show 9 times out of 10, like say like 5 out of 7 nights a week. And sometimes they were 8 or 9. So I would have sort of like an hour or 2 to like spend with him. And it would just be me watching him cook and kind of like talking shit and never, ever helping. He would trick me into helping. He'd be like, oh, can you just hold this knife near these carrots? And if you wouldn't mind just like putting it through a couple times. And then I'd be doing it. And I'd be like, did you trick me into cooking? Am I cooking? And I'd be so mad because I would be like, I was working so much that I didn't enjoy cooking at all. I was like, I will spend $100 on dinner every fucking night. Like I have enough money because I'm working like a psycho. I'd rather do that than cook. But then when quarantine happened, I was like, let's fucking feed ourselves, girl. Let's do it.
So just you solo now, single?
Yes. I mean, technically speaking, yes. There's never a shortage of 25-year-olds lately that won't leave me alone. I don't know. I'm like the fucking Pied Piper of these recent college grads. I don't know what's happening.
Well, they have.
I have a few ideas, but go ahead, Greg.
They have the antibodies. They're thinking they're safe.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is. So are you going to continue with it? Like, is it going to be a thing, or is this just passing the time while you're locked in your apartment with virtually nowhere to go?
Well, I mean, I've been enjoying it, and they're easy enough to do that I'll probably keep doing it.
How do you do it? Because you obviously edit it together.
My friend edits it. I have my friend Kat. I'll tell you, and I understand, and I agree. Everybody should know how to edit, blah, 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 blah. But the thing about me is like I'm hypercritical of myself and what I look like and what I sound like, that I think that she's making a better product than I would have. Right. Because she's not being hypercritical. She's just picking like the funny moments and the little fuck ups. Like the editing is a big reason why it's funny.
Oh, totally.
Like she'll like piece together stuff that like was not the way that I sent it to her. I mean, that's why it's so easy too. I do it on my phone. I put it on my ring light. I send her maybe like 6, because I don't make them too long, because then it's easier for her to cut up like steps of the video, and then she cuts it up.
She does a good job. She totally kills it.
Cat Toledo. She's very, very funny.
And her Instagram is
at cat. I think it's _ Toledo.
We'll add it.
Cool name.
Yeah, isn't it?
I feel like that's not a real name.
Yeah, I know, but it is. She's great. She's my Colombian friend. We've been friends forever.
Does she do comedy? Because that's a comedy name.
Yeah, she does. She has this great video called Tohos, where she voices, it's like feet, and they all have like rings on their feet and like little headsets. They're all these characters. Like she dresses up these feet and then voices the character. It's called Tohos.
Are they her feet? Whose feet are they? Different feet, or is it one foot?
Different feet. Some of them are hers. They're her friends' feet are in it. Some of them are more masculine feet. It's a niche. It's a niche sort of thing. But
like the scissor guy. Have you taken
Like
part
the
of her feet
scissor
videos?
I have not.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to it though. I'm not above it.
It's funny enough.
Yeah.
So where were you doing your show? I mean, I know you had the show at the Stand.
Well, yeah, I mean, every Monday night was frantic. Aaron Berg and I were hosting that every Monday at 10. And then, yeah, I would be there hosting a lot on the weekends, weekdays and stuff. And the Stand's coming back. They started doing some outdoor seating shows.
Yeah, how's that going, Evan? Have you been there?
Yeah, I did one. I think their first or their second one. And it was awesome. It was a ton of fun. Dave Attell was on it. He's doing his set and he has his mask on. He goes, all right, guys, can I be honest? Do you mind if I bareback it? So, yeah, I mean, you know what? It's nobody really knows anything about this ever-changing virus, and it's scary, and I'm seeing more and more people, like, die and get sick, and I want to be socially responsible, but I also am, like, pretty healthy, and I feel like I've had it and kicked it, like, 3 times already.
Yeah, me too.
But at the same time, I do want to be as responsible as I can. But I think that for the most part, people, you know, we're socially distancing. Everybody's wearing masks. We have like sanitizer by the stage. Some people are bringing their own mics.
Yeah.
One guy did that, and I was like, give it up for that guy. He is 65.
We did our first show last night.
Okay.
All of this stuff happened.
Yeah.
It was kind of a glorified. Well, it wasn't a glorified. It was a pretty shitty open mic type thing. It's a place where we started out when we started doing shows. We started doing open mics, and we had a pretty. I mean, Nick, the crowd was pretty solid, right?
Yeah.
And
it was pretty good. The content was, 4
Rusty.
months of rust.
Rusty, shaking it off.
That's the best way to do it. I've done a couple shows like that in Brooklyn, and this guy's front lawn.
Yeah.
And his neighbors just came out, and we did it the 4th of July. There's fireworks going off behind us. What a great workout.
Was that Eric? Was that Eric's show?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. So I know him a little bit. How did that go? It's literally in his front of his house, right?
It's the front of his house. He bought some lawn chairs. They all say Gators on them. He's like Florida trash or whatever. I love him. He's so great. He like papers the whole neighborhood with flyers. He like goes door to door and invites people. And, by the middle of the show, it was like filling up, there's like maybe 15, 20 people there, and people are ready to laugh, and they are ready to laugh at fucking anything. Right. I have this new joke that I was so worried about. I go, I was like, I've been donating to a lot of Black Lives Matter, like movements and foundations and stuff. I just worry a little bit about the pendulum swinging in the other direction, when we're saying like Venmo your Black friends. Like I would Venmo my Black friends, but they all owe me money. And it's like,
it worked?
It works. Black kid in the audience. He was like, and Black debt. I'm like, okay.
There you go.
That's what I mean? Yeah. I feel like it is times like this. Again, like, of course, be as responsible as we can, but people are ready to laugh. People are ready to get out of their house and laugh.
Yeah, for sure.
We definitely felt that last night, for sure. There was, there were like, how many comics, Greg? 20?
Wow.
and then like 4 minutes apiece, sanitize the mic in between, you know, the whole deal. But it was.
And by the way, everybody sanitized the mic except for the guy who was hosting the mic, which is Nick.
No, I did. What are you talking about?
Dude, I wish that your version of sanitizing was captured on tape somewhere.
I sprayed the mic twice, and then I sprayed myself like it was perfume.
You sprayed it like you were a cartoon character, like in something. It was
I am a cartoon character, dude.
It certainly didn't sanitize the mic.
It was, but yeah, it was interesting. After
Safety
4
first.
months of rust, it was like it's like your first workout after like, yeah, I didn't work out for 4 months, and then you're like back in the gym. You're like, well, I'm here.
Yeah, and everything feels so heavy. It's like there's like, nothing's really lighthearted. You know what I mean? Like everything is like just feels like high pressure, you know? And then there's also the part of me that's like, can we get all of the material like out of our system so we can like move on to something else? But I just feel like it's here to stay.
I don't think
I had someone ask me that you know, as they do stand up, and they were like, so you have a whole new like set on coronavirus? And I was like, no. I was like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm done. I'm over it. It's you know, it's a terrible thing that's happening to people and the economy and all that stuff. Like, I'm done. I'm good.
I don't think people want to hear it either. Like, unless it's super smart or
it's got like anything in comedy, it's got to be clever, right, and well done. You could talk about stuff, but it has to be clever and well done. You can't just like, you know.
It'd be a great documentary going around to every stand-up open mic in the country and just documenting the COVID material from open micers.
Like, play like Boggle rules and try to find like similar ones. Be like, he said it first.
Yeah.
He said it 10 minutes ago. His joke, you know.
They're like, so toilet paper almost ran out. You know,
mine is just a lot of this stuff I'm using are like tweets that kind of did okay. Like I tweeted like, you know, my dad has now deemed himself an essential customer at Home Depot. And, you know, I word it differently, but that like kind of works its way into a joke. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I keep telling Nick he should, because Nick does the stand-up. I don't do stand-up. But I went to the first day that the malls opened up in Connecticut in May. I was like, I'm going to the mall. I wanted to get out of my house and just go to the mall. So I went to the big mall by us in Connecticut, and I walked the entire mall, and the only stores that were open besides like, you know, mom and pop cell phone accessory stores were Champs, Olympia Sports, Foot Locker Kids, and EB Lens. Right. And whatever it is. And I'm like, Nick, there's a joke there. Like there's a joke about Air Jordans and coronavirus depression.
Yeah.
And there were lines to get into the sneaker stores.
You're kidding.
I'm not. I swear.
They're like, my sneakers haven't been this clean in years. I've never in the house.
I was like, this is so fucked up.
They were throwing up Timberlands. They were running out the door. It was friggin' hysterical.
It's weird. Like, I don't want to spend any money on clothes because I'm like, where am I going? I'm not
even
going anywhere.
I think about that as well. Like, I'm looking in my closet and I'm like, I need new stuff. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Right.
For what?
Maybe shirts, but like bottoms, like who needs them?
Yeah, I'm not wearing any pants.
I'm not either. I haven't worn pants in 4 months.
Same. I walk around, I have no pants. I drive around in a van and
sharpen scissors.
Scissors.
You should see how he sharpens the scissors.
Yeah.
Sir, you're not Glenn.
No wonder your throat hurts, Nick. Anyway, so I was telling Nick before that I watched the roasts you did with Micah,
yes.
Micah. And I'm not someone that likes roasts generally, right? But that roast was the best roast I ever saw of any roast. It was so bang, 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 hysterically funny that I'm like, that was so impressive. Like, did you guys rehearse that?
No. We used to have a podcast together, and we're just like, we call each other worst best friends. So like, those jokes were definitely heightened versions of how we kind of are anyway. We're just shitty to each other, just to make other people laugh, to make each other laugh. Like we just
that's how you know you're good friends, though, in my opinion. In all seriousness.
Because it was just so. I mean, it was obvious in in the performance that there was something there, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that you guys were friends. I didn't know you had a podcast, but it was
Yeah.
clear that this was a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, well, that's a problem with some of the roast battles is, you know, you can put two people together and they can be exceptional writers, but if they're not listening to each other and reacting to each other, it really doesn't make for it's not entertaining.
Well,
You
a
know?
lot of the roasts, you know, people go up and they may know of each other, but they don't really know each other, and they
Yeah.
have their notes. They're like
Yeah.
roast jokes on their hand, and
Right.
Jim will do his, and then Jane will do hers, and it's just so disjointed
Right.
that it's not funny, right?
No.
Like that might be a funny joke on its own or a funny dig,
Yeah.
but when you're trying to put those things together and you're reading off of a note card,
Yeah.
like this isn't a roast. This is just two people going up and digging at each other. They could
Yeah.
be anywhere. So that's what I
Yeah.
was so impressive about that roast. It was so funny.
Yeah, and even with roast battles, we're trying to like emulate that sort of like ball busty, like comedy atmosphere, you know, like the judges are going to be on it. Like they're going to have chemistry with each other and like with us. So if you don't sort of, and it has to do with being like confident and like vulnerable at the same time, like letting things like affect you. That's one mistake I think a lot of like new roasters make, where they like get up there and they're like, I just want to fucking win. I'm going to win. I want to have all my jokes smashed. And it's like, you don't realize how you can really get the crowd on your side in those in-between moments when like somebody like takes a dig at you and you're like, oh, okay, well, really? You know, like just like little human moments that'll like make people relate to you.
So that was what, like 3-4 years ago, 3 years
Yeah.
ago? So
Yeah.
was that in a sober time or a non-sober time?
Yeah, sober.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine you definitely feel you perform way better when you're not
Oh yeah.
wasted.
Yes. When
So-
I would perform wasted, I would like see like visions.
Right.
I would see a bug in the room. I was like, guys, did that come out of my butt? And it'd be like funny, but I'd be like serious.
You think that's a joke? That's not a joke.
Everyone's
let me get that fly. Let me see that bug.
yeah, everyone's laughing, and you're like, no, really though, did that just happen?
I just got it.
So let's talk about your the short you did.
Yeah.
So is that like, how did you decide that was going to be my vehicle to do something? And was that what started you down the road of sobriety, or did you do that while you were sober? After you got sober?
Yeah, I was probably like a year into sobriety, my first go around with it. Or like the one before this one, I think. So yeah, when I was writing it, and I wrote it with this guy named Stephen Tannenbaum, who I used to do theater with when I first got out of college. I did a lot of off-Broadway shows with him. So yeah, he was like, he wanted to make a movie about comedy. And I was like, was just getting my footing in comedy when this started. Like I was starting to have like real relationships with successful comics, and was like, did my own show, was starting to like gain a little ground. So I felt comfortable like using a lot of comics, like Leah Bottomo was in it, the Lucas brothers are in it. So when I wrote it, he was like, well, can we include the alcoholism stuff too? And I was like, yeah, why not? Like, it'll make it interesting. Right. So everything that happened, like sort of happened there. Just, we like heightened it a little bit. I never had a boyfriend who was in a wheelchair. Not that I'm against it, but that actor we had just worked with before and we really liked him. His name's Mitch. But yeah, I made that a while ago. We did a GoFundMe. We raised 10 grand to make it. Most of it went to the camera. We got like a red camera that was pretty good, and we hired a really good DP. And now it's just like this 14-minute thing that I can, show people.
Right. Did you put it in any festivals or any of the shorts?
Yeah, we did pretty well. We were in the New York Comedy Shorts Festival.
Right.
I think we got like second place.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we were in the Boston Underground Film Festival, and like our short opened like the winner, like feature length film. So we did well there. And then a couple other ones like I didn't go to, like we got in one in India. We got into one in LA that I didn't go to.
You didn't go to the Indian Film Fest?
I know. I was like, are we going to India? Steven's like, nah.
It's in India, the India part of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Everybody's dying to get into that Bollywood festival. So do you have any, is it done? Like you're done with it, or are you looking like, is it something you would want to go and take to like a feature?
I mean, it's funny because I started working like on another script with Steven right after we finished it, and I wonder if we could dig it up. But yeah, I haven't really done much with it. I wrote a couple scripts recently that I'm trying to finagle, trying to figure out like what they are, even
Right.
whether it's like I've sort of written like 2 episodes of like that could be a show. One kind of feels like a finale. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, no, shit-faced is just kind of sitting there in life, I guess. Just
A
floating
story
around.
that everybody can relate to. Most people. So what, like what's next? Like where do you see the rest of this year shaking out, or is this year a wash and you're looking at next year?
You know, I feel like I've sort of, stayed busy, done a lot of podcasts. I might just have to start my own podcast. I really like the guys at Barstool Sports. Like I like working with them. I wouldn't mind working with them some more. And then yeah, I mean, just keep doing Chip whenever I can. I love doing Chip. And then hopefully headlining more. I had a bunch of headlining gigs set up. I was supposed to do Houston. I was doing Fairfield. Everything got canceled. And when I just sort of started headlining. So
Right.
hopefully that'll start picking up. Like I'm not afraid to travel. But it's just like, I don't know. I think it's a combination of like big headliners who are draws are already scooping up a bunch of dates. So it feels like a little bit of a setback in that regard.
Right. Because we also, up until all this shit happened, we started booking a club in South Norwalk, Connecticut.
Oh,
We actually are in Fairfield.
okay.
So we were booking a club, what, Nick, 4 nights a week, Wednesday through Saturday?
Really?
Yeah. And we had shows booked all the way through first week of June that we wound up obviously canceling with, our Friday, Saturday nights were all shows we would bring people out from the city.
Yeah.
So we had, I'm forgetting most of them now for sure, but like Nathan McIntosh.
Yeah.
I
love Nathan.
Yeah, he was awesome. But so many. I mean, the last show we actually did was what, Frank Liotti, Nick?
Frank! Oh my God. I've known Frank forever. Frank has seen me very drunk. We used to do this open mic at the Duplex. It was this Wednesday mic. You'd have to get there at 5 to sign up, and then it would start at 7, and everybody would like rush to get out of work. It was like a big to-do. And then they had 2-for-1 drinks. So sometimes I would just get there at 5 to sign up. So by 7 o'clock, hammered. And the host, his name was Michael Brill, he would always say the same thing about me. He's like, well, we got to get her up early before she's too wasted to tell her shitty jokes.
And you were like, here I am. There's a fly coming out of my butt.
I just got dropped
like,
off out of a van. Anyone need a scissor sharpen? Who's got a scissor? It's totally different kind of cutting scenario.
He was fucking hilarious. He's very cool.
He's a beast. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
So we're about to try to get this going again, obviously in a little bit of a different format. So
right.
We're allowed to start doing indoor shows, obviously, because we did one last night.
Yeah.
The capacity is limited. The location we were doing it was actually the basement of a nightclub, but we can't use the basement anymore because the ceilings are too low for what's going on now. Okay. So they've reconfigured the first floor. So we're trying to work out all the details. So when we do, we'd love to have you come out and do a show if you're interested.
I'd love to. Are you kidding? I'd love that.
What were you doing? Do you know what were you doing? Stage 1 in Fairfield or the Warehouse? Do you remember?
Or Fairfield Comedy Club.
Oh, Fairfield Comedy Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Liz Barrett was going to open for me. Do you guys know Liz?
No.
She's real deadpan. She's really funny. I was really excited because we were going to be like a really good juxtaposition type of show. So hopefully that goes off at some point.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing. I reached out to them just to kind of see what their plan was, and I haven't heard back from Beecher on what's going on over there. But I'm curious because that's the hotel room. The hotel lobby situation is a super cool spot to do stuff.
Yeah.
And then they do the big venue at the beach sometimes, which is an awesome location to do shows. Nothing
Yeah.
to do with us, just giving them some props.
Yeah.
like they need it from me.
And Nick's like, shut up.
What are you doing, asshole?
We're doing pretty good ourselves, okay?
gotta sell
Dad?
tickets.
I mean, Greg.
You're gonna be working out of a fucking van.
Yeah.
It could always be worse.
Yeah. So, Nick, you have anything else before we wrap up?
One thing. So I watched your one of your sets, or actually a few of your sets, but one of the things that came up that popped out to me, it was so fucking funny, was you were talking about being with a gentleman, so having sex, and you were on top, and you would be high-fiving imaginary people. And I stopped for a minute, and I was like, wow, if that happened to me, like, what would I do? Like, what would be like? I'd either marry
You would reach
that
up
girl.
and high five too. Like,
Yeah, I'd either
marry.
marry that girl or run away. I'd probably enjoy. I don't know, but I've never like I
No,
heard
you
that
do.
joke
You
and I
pick up your cell
stopped.
phone.
I stopped what I was doing and I was like, what would I do if that happened?
Ew,
I'm
if
sorry.
she just started congratulating herself on her orgasm.
He would have
Without
called me and been
even
like, I have this situation going on right now. I don't know what to do. What's your advice, old man?
I would have
Help me.
marry that girl probably. I'd be like, you're hilarious. This is
That one, I love that joke. I also have a reverse cowgirl joke that
yes,
someone
yeah.
actually animated. They like drew a picture of it. Because
Yo,
I
that
say
shit
I'm like, my
is good.
favorite position is reverse cowgirl because it's easier to text other dudes while you're up there.
Yeah, that was the one that like followed it, I believe, during that set.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
and then again, I was like, what if that actually happened?
What would you do? I would lose my shit. Like, are you texting another bitch? I'm sucking your dick, you motherfucker.
Nick would be like, no, I'm eating a sandwich.
Yeah, it's like, I'm eating the same. I would be though. I really would be.
That's
Right,
okay.
Costanza.
That's okay. You gotta
So
eat.
to end, I just want to also say that I've recently gotten into oat milk.
It's good, right?
It's
It
okay.
really is good.
It is.
And-
Compared to all the milks, all the non-dairy milks.
That's how I spent coronavirus quarantine, is going to Target, and I tried every oat milk that they've sold in
Okay.
flavored oat milk,
Yeah.
regular oat milk, full fat oat milk, half fat oat milk.
Right.
And I don't like milk at all as anything.
As a
except in-
principal.
As a principle, I do not like milk or raisins, except in certain scenarios. And the only scenario
Don't
I
get
will
him started. Don't get him started on the
definitely
raisins
not.
shit.
That'll be episode 2.
Oh my god.
But as far as milk go, I only drink milk and coffee. So I realized I love oat milk,
Yep.
and it's my prize out of quarantine.
It is.
Is-
Congratulations.
Is oat milk. I win.
I also have converted to oat milk. Like, so you can congratulate yourself. It's better for you. You're also saving, you're putting a dent in these dairy farm, but they're not good. They smush them all in there and they squeeze their titties and it's not good. They don't like it.
Sounds like my dating life.
Strip club of milk.
Smush them all in there, squeeze their titties. Get out.
And then I run. Then they start high-fiving imaginary people. I'm like, get me the fuck out of here.
He tosses him a sandwich on the way out.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, oat milk is great. The other thing, I would like socially smoke cigarettes. Like, I would never buy a pack,
Right.
but like in between like hosting sets sometimes, because you get bored, you're like running up and down. You got 15 minutes to kill. It's like a weird time. So I would smoke. And then in quarantine, I didn't have that option. So I just totally haven't had a single cigarette. I'm like, that also showed, and I had no desire to like go buy a pack either. I was like, oh, you were never really addicted. You're just a weak loser.
You couldn't be alone with your thoughts for 15 minutes.
For 15 minutes.
Just the
Yeah.
cigarettes.
Yep.
Well,
So good.
listen.
Good for you.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you on the oat milk props.
Yeah.
So obviously we want to let everyone know where to find you.
Yeah. Follow me on Instagram. It's Kerryn, not Karen, Kerrryn, F as in Frank, EEHAN. I am at KFreehams on Twitter. And as of right now, I feel like the best place to probably catch me is the Stand. If you get on their email list, they have some secret shows and they'll let people know sometimes.
Awesome. So really, thank you very much for the time. It was awesome.
Right.
Seriously, much
you guys.
appreciated.
The mangina dialogues. I love that. I didn't even tell you. I was in the vagina monologues in college. I
Were
crushed.
you really?
Yeah, I did like a duo. I did a duo monologue with this black chick, and we would like switch lines. And she had this one line where she walks by me. She goes, "I am here. I am hot," and I improvised. I was like, "You're all right."
Bitch, you okay?
In the vagina monologues. Anyway, sorry. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. We'll
Much
talk soon for
appreciated.
sure.
Bye.